Hey, I'm Laura Becker and welcome back to my channel. First of all, I would like to say thank you. Thank you so much to all of you that liked and subscribed and left comments. There were so many wonderful supportive things that people said. I was really overwhelmed and I'm so grateful for you. Secondly, thank you to John's Furniture Repair people that decided to check out what I'm working on. Welcome, it's nice to meet you. For those of you that don't know Trenna, please follow her. Please subscribe to her channel. She does some amazing work with some furniture of things that you think maybe shouldn't be put in the bin. So amazing. She's a miracle worker. So follow her at John's Furniture Repair. Secondly, I would like to say I've joined Buy Me Coffee. So if you're enjoying my videos or you'd like to see more, please buy me coffee. It's super helpful for me to make videos in the future. And third of all, my video today is about a commission piece. So I have some general information. You'll watch me start from the very beginning to making the design, making some choices as far as glass goes. I'm not sure if the client's gonna go for it. So it ends sort of after the design process. If the client goes for it, there'll be future video on that. But today you get to get inside my brain and you get to see how I come up with what I come up with. This is not a teaching video, I'm just gonna say that. This is how I do it. I'm totally an overthinker. I'm an engineer's daughter, so I'm worried about things falling apart. So I'm very, very worried about structure and I overkill all of those details. So bear with me. There are other ways to do this that aren't so lead heavy, but that's where I'm at. So I thank you so much again. I'm so grateful you're here and please enjoy my next video. Okay, well here we have our two panes that are exactly the same size. These are going to fit inside of a finished vinyl window. So the dimensions that the client gave me was 8.5 inches wide by 26.25 inches long. And that's the actual hole size. So what I'm going to do is add a zinc channel to that little frame to make it more rigid. And this channel has a 1/2 inch space in it there. So I just measured in another 1/2 inch on all directions. This client has asked for a sunflower design and I found this really lovely yellow. It's pretty opaque. The client also asked that there be some privacy so the next door neighbors can't see in their window exactly. So this will let in a lot of light, but will obviously obscure the view. So I'm going to use a combination of some opaque glass or more opaque glass with some bottles and mosaics and all the little weird globs and things that I can find. And I'm going to mix it in with a very highly textured clear glass, colorless glass. So it'll let in quite a bit of light, but again, you won't really be able to see in or out through the window. So my process is I generally will pick out a bunch of things that I think will work color-wise. So I've got some browns, golds, and some yellows, and I'll just sort of pull everything out and I play around with it, different ideas in real scale before I create my design around it. So I design my designs around the actual 3D elements and then do the line work afterwards. Some people say that's backwards, but that's how I do it. So I'm gonna play around a little bit and I won't talk throughout that. You can listen to some music and enjoy the process. Okay, looks like I've got some sort of concept of where I'd like to head with the actual flowers themselves. So this is just a general idea. This isn't obviously written in stone at this point. This is just a general balance, kind of like how it's a little asymmetrical. And this could be flipped the other way. I'm not quite sure how I want to do this yet. I'm happy with the cluster idea. I like the combination of a little bit of marble. I'm okay with a little bit of repetition here. I like to sort of tie things together without being exactly the same. That's what I was thinking here. Obviously I need to cut this one, but it will stand in place for now until I am able to finish that. Now I generally, from my sewing background, there is a direction to most of this glass. So as you can see, this one goes in this direction. So if I cut the petals this way, the grain will be going sort of against it, and I'd like to have some sort of movement with the piece. I generally will choose petals to go with the grain, or if I want it to be on a slight angle to show movement. So I will be aiming to cut most of these pieces in this direction here. So I have a limit here is where I'm getting at with the length that I'll be able to go with. So I'll be cognizant of that as I make my design. And I may end up doing much more squat petals and having more line work, more clear. Based on that, I may add a different yellow that has a longer grain that I can sort of play with that. These are all the things I'm thinking about when I'm limited by certain things, and this is the limit with this material here. So when you see me cutting it, you'll know why I chose that way. And this side's pretty flat, so I'll be cutting on this side because this is the easier side. This, to hand cut this, is kind of a pain. It is, you have to be pretty delicate with it, and delicate and strong, if that makes any sense. But if you've tried to cut any art glass, you'll understand what I'm saying. So this is one of the picky ones. The flatter it is, the easier it is to cut. So this one won't be easy, so you'll watch me struggle. That's okay. So if you see me sort of struggling with the petals, I use pencil and eraser because everything I do and redo, to watch this in real time would put you to sleep. So I will do portions of it, and you'll see the progress happening, but in real time nobody can manage to watch this. Unless you want me to make a sleepy time video, I would be happy to do that. You can watch me work in real time. Otherwise, I'm going to start playing with this and we'll see what I can come up with. taken some time and made sort of a funky, spirally, florally, interesting kind of line work for the flowers. It turns out I've got about, I don't know, maybe 25 pieces of the yellow. So these will all be the petals and then the rest will all be clear. I threw in some drops just to add a little bit of three-dimensional interest. And in the case of these bottles, those will get cut, so they won't be perfectly circular. I kind of like that idea of it sort of coming in off the side. So I'm going to darken this up, and then I'm going to choose the direction of the glass. Likely, as I said, the yellow will go outward like the sun, and the clear, I'm undecided if I want to go with the direction that these are going in, or if I want to have everything just as a background going in one whole direction. So I'm not quite sure yet. I likely will choose it to go all in one direction, and then the only thing that'll be really outstanding is the line work. But there could be some funky movement if I play around a little bit with that. Like maybe choose the section between the petals to be going in the same direction as the petals, and then having everything else in the same direction. So I've got some room to play there. And I will probably choose one type of clear glass with a heavy texture. I won't choose different clears. I could do that, but I'll take a look at my glass selection and pull them out and see what I've got. Here's the line work finished. And the main reason why I use such organic, round, overlapping seams is because it's actually a lot stronger. Anyone who does stained glass, you know, if you do geometric lines anywhere where there's a cross, it's a hinge point and it's a weakness in the glass. So I naturally use a lot of organic lines that sort of go through the piece, that connect through to the piece. All of these seams will be soldered to the frame to give it extra structure. And this is an extra long piece. Anything typically over 2 feet, I would add a restrip to, which is a copper tape. I'll show you that later. And that helps to reinforce it, because the weight of the glass, obviously over 2 feet now from top to bottom, is putting weight. Now, I have a number of seams that are taking the pressure off, so I probably won't do restrip on this, but it is always part of my design. I definitely am cognizant of where the seams are going, and any overlapping, you know, the more organic it is, the more structurally sound it is. And it's also aesthetically pleasing, I think. That's my own opinion. So as you can see, the line work, it looks pretty good. Even if it were in flat glass, if I didn't have bottles, it still would be a nice looking piece. And it could be done in flat glass instead of adding three-dimensional objects. But I kind of like how that looks, and I like the three-dimensional aspect of it. I'm not going to add any metal work to this or any wire. I often will do that, but for these panels, because I'm trying to keep them as simple and cost effective as possible. Obviously, the more pieces I add, and I have to wrap every single one of these pieces, so I could even simplify this design further if the client finds that this is too expensive as far as labor goes. So I'll be able to present them something here, and then at least it's something to work with. So I'll color in the areas that are going to be yellow and show the way that the grain will go, and I'll show that to the client. And then if they decide they like it, but you know the budget's too high, I can simplify some of these lines. Not quite sure how. Working backwards is a little tricky. But I could overlay a new piece and just simplify and get that idea across. So we'll go from there. Here we are at the end of the process as far as the design goes. I just thought I would wrap it up and say, hopefully the client will go for it and we'll have more. Stay tuned.